Back in July of 2020, my fellow Globebuster Witsit went up against Tjump in a debate on the channel Modern Day Debates. The entire debate was about 2 hours long. This is a summary of how the debate went. Witsit has the habit of saying things really fast with thick vocabulary, so I'll try and help break that down for you. The debate goes like this. Tjump makes his opening claim. We know that the Earth is a globe because of ABCDEFG, and lists a whole bunch of things, like lunar eclipses, pendulums, neutrinos, satellites, differences in gravity. I think he listed about 15 things in his 10-minute opening statement. After that, Witsit says, hey, each of those is a reification fallacy. The reification fallacy is when you take something that has not been proven and treat it as if it has been proven. Essentially, it is a pitfall, where you cover a hole in the ground and make it look like it is solid ground. One example was lunar eclipses. The moon is turning red because the shadow of the Earth is crossing in front of it. Therefore, the Earth is a globe. That is the shadow of the Earth, is the assumption in that statement. Dr. Donald French, the president of the Society of College Science Teachers, wants to put disclaimer statements in science textbooks saying, hey, none of this stuff we are teaching you here is proven. Feel free to challenge it. Without this disclaimer, he sees our mainstream science textbooks as one big reification fallacy. Now let's go see what Tjump has to say about Witsit's reification accusation.
What science does is it shows correlations and then we infer causation. So it doesn't ever show causation, it just says, if my hypothesis is true, here's a demonstrable test we can do, and if this test corresponds to the prediction I make, that's evidence that my hypothesis is correct. That's all it does. So if we can say, if I can make a prediction that the world is round and we put two pendulums on the two different sides and I get different results, and we see that result, oh, that's evidence the world is round. That's just how it works. You don't need to prove causation. That's not how science works.
Okay, so what you're saying is, you saw the pendulum move, and I'm just supposed to believe you as to why it moved.
Yeah, if I can make testable predictions, that's correct. So, for example, just take any scientific prediction ever, like the cosmic microwave background, and we can predict that if the Big Bang happened or whatever, we can see these temperature variations in the cosmic microwave background. We look and say, oh, there are these temperature variations. Can those be explained by other things? Sure, I could just say there are magical pixie leprechauns up there who made the temperature differences because they had fun.
That's basically what y'all say, yeah.
But the one that makes the prediction first is the one that gets the evidence. They get the credit. So the CMB gets it right, and the pixie leprechauns, even though they could explain it, isn't evidence. So whichever one makes the testable predictions gets the evidence.
Right, so you do concede, though, that it isn't actual reality. You're just the first one that came up with an explanation. And in addition,
that's how science works.
No, I just objectively stated how science works. You're changing it. You're saying you don't have to manipulate an independent variable. It's not about cause and effect, but that is, I could probably offer 50 citations from universities that say natural science is the study of cause and effect relationship, and that you must have an independent and dependent and control variable.
Yes, that is study, but you can't affect the cause. You can't change the cause. They can't prove cause and effect. That's just philosophy of science 101. David Hume.
Is the independent variable cause?
No.
Okay, so we just have a fundamental disagreement. That's what the independent variable is.
Literally, you can't prove cause. It's just philosophy of science 101.
Okay, well, philosophy and science are completely non-related.
Philosophy of science, that's one field. But what I'm saying is
natural science is nothing to do with philosophical interpretation or correlation or induction.
It's literally all correlation and all induction. All science is just induction and correlation, like all of it. No. There's no deduction in science.
Dude, what? you have not been peeping the Gleason, bro.
Like, dude, literally every university, every paper is going to say science is inductive. Induction evidence, all scientific evidence is inductive. All of it. Every single bit of it.
So basically, to summarize, all the evidence that you have, we just have to believe what you say is happening because you were the first one to say what's happening?
If I can make a prediction first and you can't, that means that my theory is more likely right, yes.
They didn't make a prediction with pendulums. That's not how that works. There was a huge window of error. There was a huge window of error. It wasn't consistent with the presupposed derivation at all. Have you looked into it? 1851, the first pendulum. So that's not sequitur.
Prediction. So they said the prediction wasn't exactly correct. It doesn't need to be exactly correct. It just needs to be more correct than everyone else. So
it was the only one. It was presupposing axial rotation, and then it guessed what it would do. It was completely wrong, and then it updated it based on what they could generally accept as the average.
Yeah, so science makes a prediction. It tries to get it right. If it gets it wrong, it
So
updates
don't
with
you
new
see-
data and makes a new prediction. Like that's how all science works.
Right. Don't you find it a bit unfounded to pretend that flat earthers are crazy people when you can't say anything other than we presented you an explanation and we were the first ones to do it? But no, we can't physically demonstrate that's actually the cause of what we're telling you. But just believe us. If not, we get to make fun of you on the internet and censor you.
No, because it's the exact
ridiculous.
same as every other science. Like the science that makes computers work, the science that makes telephones work, the science that makes everything work. It's the exact same thing. It's all just we made testable predictions which have a demonstrable result which they can replicate in machines. It's the same thing. So if you're saying that that method is unreliable, well, then it's the same method we use for medicine and healthcare and engineering and cars and planes. So if you're criticizing that, yeah, you're crazy.
No. Cars and computers function because of scientifically proven facts.
No, actually, I just said objectively what the study of natural science is, and that's the only thing relevant to this entire discussion because
All
you're
of
making
natural science.
because
Medicine,
you're making
engineering, all that's natural science.
okay. Natural physical science is the only thing relevant to this conversation because you're making physical claims. We have an agreed upon parameters. We have a verification method. It's called the scientific method in natural physical science. And I've explained objectively what it is. And you've argued about the interpretation, saying that you could never, ever prove a cause. And I'm sure you're under the philosophy that you can never prove anything. Science doesn't prove things. And that's just that's a scapegoat,
Correct.
right? It's a scapegoat.
What?
So then by deduction, there is no scientific proof of the globe model.
There's no scientific proof of anything. We could all just be in a brain.
Wait, can you just answer directly though? So that would mean by deduction, there's no scientific proof of the globe Earth
there's no
model.
scientific proof of anything. Science doesn't prove anything.
Okay, yeah, we get it. That's the talking point nowadays because y'all don't have any proof. But
wait, why do you think that's a scapegoat? Like, could we not be in a brain in the vat? Is that physically, like, logically impossible?
wait, could we not be what?
A brain in a vat, like we're in the Matrix. Like, so everything we're seeing is just a delusion of some kind. Like, that's possible, right?
I guess you could say anything's possible. I guess that fairies could pick me up out of bed in the morning, but
that's
no.
why science can't prove anything with absolute certainty. It can't prove things. Like in
I don't
math and
actually
logic.
agree though. I think that reality demonstrates itself to not be fluid and the necessary antecedent to creation as a creator, which is a different discussion. But I think everything is reality isn't fluid.
Do you think
I don't
science
buy
can
into
prove that?
that reality's not fluid.
Yeah. Do you think? Yeah.
Well, all
Can science-
observable phenomena shows us that. So you would have to provide evidence counter to that. It's kind of
Right,
like when
I agree completely. I agree. The fact that everything we see is agreement with that's called induction. So, like if you see white goose, white goose, white goose, white goose, then you can assume the next one's also going to be a white goose. That's how induction works. That's why all science is induction. But it can't prove anything. It's not like math where 1 + 1 = 2 when it's necessarily the case. Science is all just induction. We look at all the examples and say, the next example is probably going to be the same. It doesn't prove anything.
You actually brought up a perfect example, right? The issue with induction is when you hinge your worldview on that, it implodes. Because, for example, you brought up, we'll use the swans, right? You got all swans are white. White swan, white swan, white swan. All swans are white. But then you find a black swan. All swans aren't white, although it was logically reasonable to assume that based on the information you had at the time. Okay, so... Well, ironically, we actually do have an observation called the black swan. That's a geometrical impossibility on the globe Earth. I'm sure you're aware of it.
No, I don't think it's a geometrical impossibility, but yeah, I still want to go on this thing.
You're aware of the argument, though. Yeah, I wasn't trying to divert the conversation. That's what I'm saying. So, okay, so is a geometrical impossibility. But anyway, the thing is, dude, science can prove things. We know a certain temperature that water boils. Okay, like we know that heat causes that water to boil. We can substantiate cause and effect relationships by manipulating the cause, dude.
We can prove that temperature is part of what causes water to boil by changing the temperature of water.
And if you're going to pretend that physical claims don't have to adhere to those parameters, but at the same time pretend that you can tout them as objective reality, that is crazy, bro. That is psychopathic. That makes no sense.
How do we know that water boils at the 200 degrees or whatever?
By repetitive observations of water reaching boiling at that heat.
So white goose, white goose, white goose, white goose, white goose, and we assume that the next one's going to be white goose. Is that right?
Well, if we could start making water boil without it reaching that degrees, then it would be different.
Well, right, but that's the thing is that it's using induction. It's saying we've seen it a whole bunch of times, and we're going to assume it's going to be the same in the future, right? That's what it's doing.
That is future tense. When you say I proved something, that is past tense. When I did this, this happened. Cause and effect.
That's how we know
yes,
it.
but this is the issue. We did manipulate the cause and see what the effect was. The globe Earth never even does that part. It skips over to the induction part. That's the fundamental disagreement we're having here. Like,
wait, I want to go back just to the induction part. So all science is just induction. So when it says the water boils at 200 degrees, the reason we know that is because we've seen it a whole bunch of times in the past, and we're going to assume it's going to continue to be that way in the future. So white goose, white goose, white goose, white goose. Next one's going to be a white goose. It actually doesn't always boil at 200 degrees. If you raise or decrease the pressure in the atmosphere, it'll actually change temperature. So, but that's the point, is that science is just induction. It's all induction. That's not a proof. It's just induction.
You can scientifically prove that a pancake is burnt by using your basic senses. You can smell it, you can taste it, you can see it, and you can feel it. When you are the one cooking it, there are no assumptions necessary.
okay, so basically, science is a philosophical realm in which we theorize strictly, and if we're the first ones to come up with a theory, we have dibs to it, no matter how preposterous or insane it is. And that can actually be conflated to physical evidence and physical claims of reality of where we live. That's where we're at. That's the best we got. Do we really not have any better than that? Because as a non-biased person wanting to find out what the Earth is, that doesn't cut it for me. I need empirical physical evidence. I can go verify and replicate that show potentiality of the globe Earth's claims. None of it works, dude. None of it works, dude. The glue for the model is a reification fallacy. To pretend it's unfounded to question it is pathetic, in my opinion.
So Tjump agreed that he had no proof that the Earth is a globe, and that his entire opening argument was one big reification fallacy. One big pitfall. Argument over. The end.